Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, if you're one of the newest members of the Stripes crew, lacing up the skates and grabbing the whistle for USA Hockey, this one is for you.
It really is.
Our mission today is to cut through some of the confusion around the most aggressive stick infractions, the ones that demand really swift, decisive officiating.
Yeah, and we're talking about four key fouls here: slashing, high sticking, and then the big ones, spearing and butt ending.
Exactly.
And all of these fall squarely into what USA Hockey calls the aggressive infraction category. And as a ref, your biggest job is player safety. These four actions, they just carry the highest risk.
Right.
The core concept you have to nail down, especially as a novice official, is that you penalize the action.
The action itself.
The severity of the action, not the outcome.
So you're not waiting to see if someone gets hurt.
You can't. If you wait for an injury, like you said, you're already too late. So we're going to unpack these, not just the letter of the law, but how you actually apply that standard on the ice.
Okay, let's start with the one you'll probably see the most, slashing. This is Rule 609. I think most players get that, chopping someone's hands is a slash, but what's the definition a new ref needs to have in their head?
It's defined pretty broadly. It occurs when a player swings the stick at an opponent or, and this is key, strikes them with excessive or reckless force.
Reckless. That's the word.
That's the word. And it even includes trying to knock the puck loose, but doing it with way too much force.
Okay, so this is where I think new refs get tangled up. How do you decide when a slash goes from a simple 2-minute minor to a major penalty plus a game misconduct? What is excessive or reckless force when they're going for the puck?
It's all about judging that action.
Yeah.
A minor penalty might be, a frustrated little tap on the glove. It's more than normal stick work, but it doesn't create a substantial risk.
Okay.
But if a player takes a full windup, a big two-handed swing from a distance, even if they only hit the stick or gloves.
But it's a loud crack.
A loud crack. Exactly. That's where you have to assess the major. The fact that the player swung with that kind of velocity, with that lack of control, means they recklessly endangered their opponent.
So let's say a player aggressively chops down on an opponent's stick to stop a shot. The swing is so hard, the opponent drops their stick in pain, but there's no cut, no blood. Is that not just a minor?
Absolutely not. You have to judge the risk the action created. If that swing had enough force to cause that kind of pain, to make a player lose control of their stick.
It could have just as easily been their wrist.
Exactly. That fits the criteria for a major penalty and an immediate game misconduct, especially when you're targeting the hands, a very vulnerable area.
A game misconduct is a huge deal. For our novice refs, what does that actually mean administratively?
It means the player's gone. Ejected from the game, their night is over.
Yeah.
But for you, the referee, it kicks off a mandatory step. Because it's an aggressive infraction, you are now required to file a detailed game report, and you have to do it within 24 hours. This shows you how seriously USA Hockey takes these specific actions.
So slashing has a whole spectrum, a minor, a major plus game misconduct, and
Yeah.
then I guess if there's a clear attempt to injure.
Then you have the match penalty, the ultimate punishment. If they try to injure someone or succeed, that's a match. And your report there becomes even more critical because you could be ending their season pending a review.
Okay, this next one is really interesting, high sticking. Rule 610. This one is unique because the penalty structure is so often tied directly to that outcome,
It is, yeah.
which seems to go against that whole action over outcome standard we just established. So how do we, reconcile that?
That's a great question because high sticking is a bit of an exception. It puts a much heavier emphasis on the result. So the definition is when a player carries or controls their stick above shoulder level and it makes contact with an opponent.
So if I'm on the ice, I see a player's stick go above their shoulder, it clips an opponent's helmet, no injury, what's the call?
That's your baseline. That's a minor penalty. The stick was in a dangerous position and contact occurred. Simple as that.
Okay.
However, if that same high stick causes an injury and the clear sign is blood, the penalty immediately escalates
To a double minor.
to a double minor penalty, 4 minutes.
So the injury has just doubled the time in the box.
Exactly. The injury acts like a magnifying glass on the action. But we still go back to the action when we consider a major. If that high stick was so severe, so reckless that it created a substantial risk of serious injury, it jumps up to a major and a game misconduct.
Let's talk about a tough scenario. A player is carrying their stick at, say, chest height, totally legal, but the opponent suddenly ducks or turns and the stick hits them in the face. Is that still a high stick?
That's a great one. The referee has to judge if the stick was raised by the offending player. If the stick was being carried legally, and the contact only happens because the opponent bent into it, that generally should not be a high sticking penalty.
Ah, okay.
You're penalizing the dangerous control of the stick, not just the fact that contact happened above the shoulders.
That makes sense. We're penalizing the player who actively puts their stick in a dangerous spot, and the signal's pretty clear for this one,
Well,
right?
very. It's one of the easiest to see. You hold both fists clenched, one right above the other at the side of your head. It really reinforces that danger zone.
So just to recap it for high sticking, it's a staircase. Minor, double minor if there's injury, and then major or match if the action itself was just dangerously reckless.
That's it perfectly.
All right, let's pivot to the actions that really cross the line.
Mhm.
From aggressive play into, well, intentional endangerment, the two zero-tolerance fouls, spearing and butt-ending.
Yes. And we group these together for a very important reason. They share a critical penalty feature, and this should set off alarm bells for any new referee. There is no minor penalty option for these two.
None.
None. The moment you see one of these actions, the absolute minimum penalty is a major plus a game misconduct.
Okay, let's define spearing first. That's Rule 611. How do we spot the difference between, say, an aggressive stick check and an actual spear?
Spearing is a jabbing motion. It's when a player jabs or even attempts to jab an opponent with a blade or shaft of the stick. This is not a slash, it's a thrust.
Like using the stick as a lance.
Exactly like that. The instant you see that forward stabbing motion towards an opponent's body, you have to call a major and a game misconduct.
And the word attempt is huge there, isn't it?
It's critical. Even if the jab misses completely, it's the intent, the action of thrusting the stick like a weapon that you're penalizing.
And butt ending, Rule 612, same logic.
Identical logic, same penalty structure. It's defined as jabbing an opponent with the end of the stick handle. So instead of the blade, they're using the knob.
Usually from up close, right? In a scrum or something.
Often, yeah. It's a short, aggressive, and very dangerous motion. Carry the exact same minimum penalty, major, and a game misconduct, with that match penalty option if it's particularly vicious.
So when a ref sees that deliberate thrusting motion blade or handle, they should just skip any thought of a minor and go straight to the major and the report that comes with it.
That is the rule. There's no gray area here. The action itself is just completely contrary to safe play.
Now let's tie this all back to that core philosophy. Why does USA Hockey demand such a strict enforcement standard from its officials?
It all comes down to Rule 602A, which reinforces what we said at the start. You penalize the action, not the outcome. The whole goal is deterrence. By penalizing actions based on the risk they create, you prevent injuries before they happen.
And we can use that concept of recklessly endangers to make that call.
That's the threshold. Recklessly endangers is the phrase that elevates an infraction from a minor to a major or a match. It means the player acted without any regard for the consequences, creating a substantial risk of serious physical injury.
Can we contrast two scenarios, just to make that judgment call crystal clear?
Of course. Scenario 1. A player gives a quick, angry slash at an opponent's stick, below the hands. The opponent barely feels it, play goes on.
That's probably a minor for slashing.
Probably. You're penalizing the excessive force. Now, scenario 2. Same player, but this time they take a full two-handed swing at the opponent's leg from 5 feet away. They miss completely, hit the ice, snow flies everywhere.
The opponent has to jump out of the way.
Right. That is major penalty territory. Even with zero contact, no harm done. The action of swinging the stick with that level of reckless disregard is recklessly endangers.
You're judging the potential for harm, not the actual result.
Exactly. The player failed to control their stick. And as we said, your job doesn't end when you blow the whistle for that major. It carries into the paperwork.
Let's just reiterate that part, because it's a step a new official cannot miss.
For any major penalty in this aggressive infraction category, slashing, high sticking, spearing, butt ending, and for any game misconduct or match penalty, you must file a detailed written game report.
Within 24 hours.
Within 24 hours. And it needs to be clear. Document what you saw, the rule you called, and the penalty you assessed.
And that documentation is what gives the rules their teeth, right? It's what allows for suspensions and holds players and coaches accountable.
Precisely. You are the eyes on the ice. Your report is the official record for the disciplinary committee. If you don't file it, you undermine the entire safety standard.
Okay, so let's do a quick final summary of this stick-foul hierarchy for everyone listening.
All right. We started with slashing. That's your most flexible one. Minor all the way to match. And it's judged on reckless force, not necessarily injury.
Then high sticking, which ranges from minor to major, but has that unique double minor penalty that's triggered directly by an injury.
And finally, the two zero-tolerance assaults. Spearing and butt-ending. No minor penalty option. They started a major plus a game misconduct because the action itself is just inherently dangerous.
And the common thread is your job to judge the action and the risk it creates.
It is, and that 24-hour reporting requirement is the final piece of your responsibility here. It's non-negotiable.
That strict standard, especially that reporting rule, really shows that your job as a referee doesn't end when the final buzzer sounds. Your detailed paperwork is a crucial part of upholding the safety and integrity of the game. Thanks for diving deep with us today.
My pleasure.
You are now equipped to strictly enforce safe play on the ice. We'll catch you next time on The Deep Dive.